I'm wondering, as someone of your generation who's also an acute observer of the culture around us, what you make of the impact on what you do, which is journalism and the study of history and trying to put a context to things. How does that play with the fact that, to be cynical for a minute, the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal are no longer the media? The media is a kid with the cell phone doing a 30-second clip out of Gaza that's now on TikTok, manipulated or not by the Chinese government, whatever that may be. How do you see what big tech has done to us? What is the context as it impacts what you do as a serious writer with a fact checker
Mhm.
who goes through your material? Because whether you love, my guest Jason Willick's posts or not, this is a serious guy who's doing more than sending out little messages on a cell phone. And yet, in a way, the currency of words, expression, thought is so devalued now that certainly as a writer who writes books and tries to drop them over the parapet into this environment, I get very discouraged thinking, well, not only who's going to read them, but is this even possible anymore? Am I totally fooling myself when I write a book? And I wonder if you ever question that about your columns in this context.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the CEOs of the companies. I think sort of the technological change is going to happen no matter who the founder is, but there's definitely a huge technological change going on, and it's sort of cliched by now to compare it to the printing press and the way that that changed communication and frankly led to a lot of religious wars and bloodshed. But I do think I have thought a lot about the way that the changes in communication, change our brains and our ability to engage. I think, I guess I'm mindful of the tendency that when there's a new technology, people overstate, how much it's going to doom our ability to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to think that we are going to, you know, master this technology and find a new equilibrium. But in the meantime, we're finding, I mean, one book that's a great book is Martin Gurry's Revolt of the Public. And he talks about how sort of technology and the way that it's so much easier for everyone to access and send information, has led to huge political instability. I think there's no question about that. But yeah, it's the printing press was the beginning of the use of written word to, communicate and write, your ideas down and share them with a large number of people. We're now doing that at a much larger scale with the internet and with social media. And there's some question of like, yeah, is the written word even gonna work? Is everyone gonna be so focused on videos
Mm.
that writing itself, I mean, I noticed the way that my younger sister consumes information, in these snippets from social media. I do worry. I do worry about that because I think there's something about written word that is really fundamental to having these values that I've been trying to talk about.
Mm.
Uh, and the ability to make arguments in that way and the context that it enables. So we'll see. Right now, yeah, all news organizations are trying to figure it out because they can tweak their algorithms on the social media companies and it'll dramatically change what gets traffic. So anyway, that's a huge thing. I don't buy the catastrophist view that disinformation is spreading and that's somehow a new problem and that it needs to be regulated to control the spread of disinformation. I think that's been something that's overstated. I think the TikTok problem is a huge problem because it's our geopolitical adversary that's controlling
Yeah.
a huge part of the news diet of our young generation of people. But I think, some of the alarmist stuff is too much, but we're just still figuring it out, and it'll probably take decades.